then comes a big deal, the qualitative parameters. Okay, so you will be like, okay, is this important? To be very honest, the qualitative parameters are the ones which help you to make the decision. So imagine you're having an admit from Harvard, Stanford, and Wharton. Okay, you're sitting here in your living room or wherever you are, and you're looking at your admits. So at that time, you will not be deciding whether you want to go to Harvard or Stanford or Wharton based on your quantitative parameters. You will definitely be deciding it based on the qualitative parameters and so on. So, for example, what does that mean? It's like culture of the school. So we had a very interesting discussion today at Career Labs in terms of, like, what is the culture of Career Labs and so on. And at that time, we were, quickly like, this came to my mind. We all know that Harvard is very different than Stanford. Okay. But do you know how is it different? Do you think it's just because it's one is on the East Coast, one is on the West Coast? Is that how it's different? Not really. There is a culture that's there. When you go to any B school, all the things they'll tell us, hey, we teach you collaboration, we teach you leadership, our students are the best in the world, they are very, they're very eager to cooperate with each other without being cutthroat, they are not so competitive. Okay, so there's like always, like, when you look at the marketing material about any B school, you will have all these big words coming up: excellence, leadership, academic excellence, intellectual curiosity, etc., etc. Harvard, obviously is how a habit of leadership, etc. So there is a culture to a school which is very, very important for you to identify. Okay, let me give you like a very silly example, but it is a very important example which helps you differentiate. I'm not sure how many of you have read Harry Potter. Has anyone read Harry Potter? Okay, most of you might have, like some of you, yeah, like it's a long time back, yeah, like, I love Harry Potter even now, and even though, like, this one, but I still feel it's like something that's there, yeah. So many of you might have read about Harry Potter. The thing is, in Harry Potter, you will have like these houses which have their own values, and they have their own kind of thing. You'll have Gryffindor, and then you will have, like, Slytherin, and so on and so forth. So similarly, every school, every B school has its own culture. Okay, and that is something that really helps you to assess whether you belong there or not. Okay, that's why the quality of the peer group who comes there. See, for example, if you're going to go to IIM Ahmedabad, the average age of the people who are coming there is about 8 years of work experience. So if you're a guy with 4 years of work experience, right, and you're getting into that, okay, it doesn't mean that you're going to have a bad experience. But the point is that you need to know whether the peer group is what you expected. Okay, if you go into IIM Ahmedabad thinking that I want more manufacturing people around me, you probably will not be in the right place. You should be going to IIM Bangalore, right? And similarly, like if you're going to go to like, any of the other schools, having a certain pre conditioned notion for yourself, right? And you don't find it there, you're going to have a miserable time. Okay, so that's why understanding the quality of the peer group, kind of what kind of students do the people like attract, do the B schools attract, and all of that matter a lot. Okay, and then the pedagogy. So, for example, very simple case study approach in Ivy, in ESA, which is in Spain, and then of course you also have your the most famous Harvard, right? And these are the only few schools which still teach you only through the case study approach. Some of the other ones are going to be a mixed approach. Like they have lectures plus the case studies. Okay, so that matters a lot. And you can ask, why does it matter? Is because, for example, the entire Harvard interview process is around the fact that will you be in a position to handle a case study discussion in class? That's all it is. Okay, it's a beautiful process put together. So the pedagogy matters a lot in terms of, like, is it more hands-on? For example, my favorite school, Ross, one of the favorite schools. Obviously, I'm partial to the alma mater, but one of the favorite schools, I love Ross for the map that it has. If you don't know what it is, you should go check it out. Okay, the action program, like wherein they are able to, like, make sure that people are able to do a lot of hands-on, experiential learning is something that's a big advantage. So the pedagogy matters a lot for a lot of people. Features of the program that attract you is also something. So, for example, I did tell you about MAP from Ross. Okay, I'll show it to you in a little while. That also matters a lot. So there might be, obviously every B school will have some kind of a club, some kind of a track, some kind of a, field experience that's going on, some kind of like intercultural experience going on, and so on. But on the other hand, they might have something which is very separate and unique. Like for example, Ross has a Taubman Center for Manufacturing and Excellence and so on. That is very interesting for somebody in manufacturing sector. Okay, similarly, you might look at Wharton in the San Francisco campus has like a very full-fledged focus on entrepreneurship. Okay, so like that, you might want to look at certain features of the program that attract you. So that also helps you to define the culture of it. So, for example, if Wharton is more focused towards entrepreneurship, you will find areas and a lot of investment from Wharton in those fields. Like, for example, they might have an incubator, they might have like other things, they might have a lot of venture capitalists coming in, and so on and so forth. Right? That's exactly what it is. Booth, on the other hand, places a lot of emphasis on the analytical nature of things. So they really have like 90 Nobel laureates out there in Booth, Chicago Booth, right? And the entire University of Chicago has that thing, and Chicago Booth is one of the main ones. So that becomes very important. What are the features that attract you? The feedback from alumni is super important, especially like people who have just graduated, say last year. Okay, you want to understand like how is it tough? Is it tough getting a job? Do you think it is possible to get a job with your visa status? And do you think like what did they think about the curriculum and how was the school helpful for them to find their career services and so on and so forth? So that becomes challenging, right? Quick show of hands, everyone. Am I audible? Just out of curiosity, and to make sure that it is like one of you had experienced a problem. Yeah, thanks. Looks like yeah, you could just raise your hands or just type a yes, whichever works for you. Yeah, thanks you everyone. Thanks a lot. Looks like it's all good. Awesome. So feedback from alumni is a big deal. Sometimes what happens is like this is what people used to tell me. In fact, like being part of AGAG, I get to meet with people who have been in the MBA industry for quite a long time, and one person has been in the MBA industry for more than 30 years. 35 years. And they were saying that at that time, like Harvard did not have, it wasn't so tough for anyone to get into Harvard. Okay, they're talking about the 90s and 80s and 85s and all that, like the early like the late 80s and early 90s, right? So their perception is very different to what a current student might tell you, to what an alum might tell you. See, current students are people who are undergoing the journey right now, so they will give you first hand knowledge. I mean, like they share first hand knowledge of what is the reality, how is it in the trenches, is it worth it? Okay, alumni can give you like what can this what can the brand name give you. So for example, last year when one of my clients had to choose between Anderson, UCLA Anderson, and NYU Stern, okay, both being great schools across different parts of it, one of the questions was like, does I mean, is UCLA Anderson known outside of the US? Is NYU Stern known outside of the US? Okay, and like are there enough alumni with whom I can connect in my region? Okay, this person was an international client of mine, and so on. So those things are the one which works. And then of course the career outcomes. Career outcomes are very, very important. And you might say, like, hey, why are you putting it into qualitative parameters? Is because please note the median salary, how much time it takes for you to pay back the money, etc. All that can probably come under employment trends and also like the other trends. But the career outcomes on an overall level is very important. So, for example, you want to know, like, what was the trajectory followed by, few of the alumni after they got out of that particular V school? Was it what you expected? Employment trends will definitely tell you that, for example, if a BlackRock or if a BCG or if like, your Deloitte or anybody else in the world are coming or not. So that's a very simple thing. It's not going to be too hard. Okay, or Tesla is coming to your school. But the career outcomes here we are talking about is more qualitative in nature. See, what is the growth that someone can expect? Okay, please note that this is hardcore statistics. More than 70% of the people, and this number actually gets higher in different regions. More than 70% of the people will quit their job after MBA within 1 to 2 years. Okay, They really do. And so this is something that you get across the different countries in the world. Of course, a number might change, like little higher. I'm talking about an average number, and so on. So that is exactly why the career outcomes is not just like, oh, I got this marketing role as I know I'm the chief marketing officer, or I'm like two rungs lesser than the chief marketing officer. It's not that. The career outcomes are going to be more like, what is the potential that I have with this degree after say 5 years, after say 10 years, and so on. So that is why it requires a lot of qualitative research going on into it. Okay. So those are the factors for the applicant. Okay. And you will say like, oh my god, there's like a big laundry list of things for us to do. But on the other hand, what I would probably consider is that, while you as an applicant might take care of all these things in the world, please note that the B school on the other side is also going to do the same to you. Okay, so you might say like, hey, like, after all this exercise, you might say, hey, Harvard is not the right one for me, correct? But please do note that Harvard has a set of like huge list of requirements also.